The response to the health crisis has largely expanded the gap between the ultra-wealthy and the remaining American population to levels never seen before. The extraordinary monetary policies that were put in place to allegedly provide some support for American families have been more beneficial to the rich than to those who really needed help. As stock prices soared to astronomical heights, affluent investors have seen their wealth skyrocket. But for the rest of the country, the current recession has sent their finances down a cliff. Jobless claims continue to surge as several industries, especially in the hospitality sector, are still dealing with restrictions to their operations and barely managing to stay afloat. Consequently, the mass layoffs are causing low-income groups to experience major financial distress, and tens of millions are potentially facing eviction in 2021. But although we are mired in the worst economic collapse ever recorded in all of United States history, the ones at the very top of the economic pyramid are laughing all the way to the bank. That's what we're gonna discuss in today's video, so stay with us and don't forget to leave it a thumbs up, share with friends, and subscribe to our channel to keep updated with the next unfoldings of the 21st century economic depression. The financial abyss that lies between the haves and the have-nots is being placed under scrutiny, as the event of the health crisis has enabled authorities to deliberately allow the downfall of tens of thousands of mom-and-pop businesses through the introduction of deeply flawed monetary policies that have been pushing financial assets up and the economy further down. While stock market indexes staged a remarkable rebound from the lows seen last March when the outbreak first hit, the chasm between the wealthy and the poor has been dramatically widening to proportions never witnessed in U.S. history. A recent Bank of America global research report has revealed that a measure of the differential between gains in financial assets and the health of the economy hit a record 6.3 times in 2020. At this stage of the recession, it goes without saying that stock markets have become completely divorced from economic reality. Stock prices are absurdly overvalued compared to historic levels. Currently, the Dow is sitting just above 31,000, and that is completely illogical and unsustainable. Even if the Dow dropped to 15,000, it would still be overvalued, but all of the speculation backing up those prices is not supported by a progressive economic outlook, but by artificial money injections that have been fattening the wallets of the richest of the rich while failing to make their way through the end consumers. According to Business Insider estimates, since the burst of the sanitary outbreak, multiple prominent billionaires expanded their wealth by over $500 billion, with Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos at the top of that list, along with Tesla CEO Elon Musk. This impressive wealth growth occurred despite the 20 million unemployment claims registered at the peak of the crisis last spring, as American workers were left jobless once lockdowns and social distancing measures were implemented to limit the spread of the coronavirus. It isn't the first time that the inequality gap has been notably amplified during an economic downturn. In the 2008 financial crash, the distance between the rich and the poor also expanded. But since then, not much was done to properly address such disparities. And now the topic is being raised again as a significant drag on the economy. A report by Moody's Investors Service suggested that income and wealth inequalities are keeping the U.S. economy from reaching its full potential and posing an ongoing social risk. That is to say, much more civil turbulence might arise as a consequence of worsening life conditions for low-income groups, which have been particularly affected by the economic fallout of the health crisis and left without alternatives and a proper safety net. As more jobs started being shed since last month, the country is undergoing a significant loss of momentum that will likely compromise our chances of finally heading out of this recession. Due to the restrictions adopted in December 2020, many restaurants and bars in many states, such as New York, California, were closed during the holidays. The revenue loss caused by the shutdowns has eliminated nearly 500,000 jobs. According to Labor Department data, the leisure and hospitality sector lost 498,000 jobs last month, with employment at bars and restaurants tumbling 372,000, accounting for 3/4 of the drop. Evidently, the effects of the lockdowns are still resonating on the labor market to this day, even though 2021 has just begun. First-time claims for unemployment insurance jumped to 965,000 during the week ended on January the 9th, evidencing the signs of turmoil brought on by restrictions in economic activity. Now, that number was the highest recorded since the week ended on August the 22nd, when more than 1 million claims were filed. Needless to say, markets remained unbothered with those numbers since investors are confident that the decline in economic activity is going to be met with even more stimulus from Washington, as President Joe Biden has just announced a plan for another $1 trillion package. Meanwhile, a new report from Bankrate.com has revealed that only 39% of all Americans would be able to cover an unexpected $1,000 expense, which means roughly 61% of all Americans can't afford to have any emergency spending. The rate is down from 2020, when 41% of people said they could cover a $1,000 cost with their savings. And as financial analyst Sven Heinrich noted in his Twitter, 655 people have $4 trillion in wealth. 200 million can't cover a $1,000 expense. The downturn has been so intensely aggravated over the past months that 200 million Americans have so little money that they're barely scraping by from month to month. Another 38% of respondents affirmed they would need to borrow money in case of an emergency, and they would either resort to credit cards or borrowing from a family member to pay for a surprise cost such as a medical bill or emergency repair. The precarious state of Americans' emergency savings has been further set back by the health crisis, with nearly as many needing to borrow to cover $1,000 unplanned expense as those that can pay for it from savings, pointed out Greg McBride, Bankrate.com's chief financial analyst. However, on one hand, households that would be able to pay from their savings are the ones in which their members can work from home or have eliminated travel or entertainment spending during the crisis. On the other hand, millions have faced or are now facing job losses and pay cuts, and their finances are being pushed to a tragic downward slide. The report outlined that handling emergency expenses is more difficult for lower-income households. Only 21% of those earning less than $30,000 a year can cover emergency costs with savings, while 58% of those earning $75,000 or more per year have the money available. The lowest-earning households were also the most likely to borrow from family or friends or to take out a personal loan, Bankrate described. Moreover, the survey also found that Americans are also getting increasingly less optimistic about the future, especially amongst older groups, with only 28% of those aged 66 and older expecting a better financial situation this year. And according to Walmart Chief Customer Officer Janie Whiteside, its customers don't expect the economy to quickly bounce back from the health crisis-induced recession. During the virtual National Retail Federation conference, Whiteside disclosed that about half of customers surveyed in November told in the Walmart survey that they were worried about the current health of the economy. She stated 40% affirmed not to expect any kind of speedy recovery. Whiteside highlighted that customers feel financially strapped as they try to put food on the table and juggle other expenses, such as school supplies for their children. Our core Walmart customer is absolutely not immune to the economic slowdown. In fact, may even be disproportionately impacted, she said, noting that the outbreak has bifurcated society as it has impacted some industries like hospitality much harder than others. It has become apparent that pessimism is sweeping across the country, as many are fearing another financially painful year. Just as consumers, business owners' optimism is falling as well. A popular indicator of U.S. small business owners' confidence has plunged to a 7-month low in December as soon as stricter lockdown measures and climbing daily case counts started to strongly resonate again into economic activity. The National Federation of Independent Businesses Index of Small Business Optimism dropped 5.5 points last month to 95.9, and that's according to an update released last Tuesday. The reading falls below the average index value since 1978 of 98 and hits the lowest level since May. Now that came as a surprise for many economists who were anticipating the gauge to dip slightly to 100.2. But in fact, 9 out of the optimism index's 10 components have declined. Small businesses are concerned about potential new economic policy in the new administration and the increased spread of the virus that's causing renewed government-mandated business closures across the nation, pointed out Bill Dunkelberg, chief economist at NFIB, in a recent statement. It is the very thin edge between the slowdown in business performance and the labor market crisis that's risking to break and put many in particular danger of drifting into homelessness. A study released by Economic Roundtable and LA Research Group signaled that the consequences of the health crisis could cause twice as much homelessness nationwide as the Great Recession did more than a decade ago. Data shows that by 2023, the number of people who have lost work and become homeless as a ripple effect of the economic fallout of the crisis could surpass current numbers by 600,000, doubling the last nationwide count, which was nearly 568,000, and that was in January 2019. Although most people who lose their low-wage jobs don't necessarily become homeless, those workers are considered the seedbed of homelessness, since many of them are in a situation where they can't stay with family, have mental health issues or substance use issues, which makes it much harder for them to reinsert themselves on the job market and to recover financially. With all the evidence exposed, it's no wonder why so many people are losing their hopes for a better year. Traditionally, Americans have been known as optimistic and forward-thinking people, but in the face of the meltdown of so many institutions, mounting uncertainty about what's lying ahead, there just aren't any reasons to be optimistic about the U.S. economy in 2021. The virus health crisis won't disappear anytime soon. Lockdowns will linger for much longer than expected. So knowing that our leaders aren't worried enough about fixing the economy by safely reopening businesses and putting workers back to their posts, but instead they will likely continue adding to the national debt by launching massive spending to keep the markets heated while Main Street crumbles, we will be inevitably seeing more rioting, looting, and civil agitation in the months ahead. The perfect recipe for chaos. If you like this video, you will enjoy Michael Snyder's book, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, now available on Amazon. Share your thoughts on the comment section down below, and don't forget to turn on the bell to get notifications for future videos. Thank you for watching.